How many snaps did they run in the 14 personnel?
That's only for us.
100% of the snaps.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into 14P Fantasy. I am your host, Justin Wright. It's Thanksgiving week, which means we got Thursday games, so we're going to get out our start-sit running back video a little bit early this week. This is part one. Part two probably going to drop either Wednesday or Friday after Thanksgiving, so keep an eye out for that. Before we get into it, we do still have our jersey giveaway going, guys. We got 2 jerseys to give away. The winners will be announced on the 29th, that Monday following Thanksgiving. Here's what you got to do to enter. These are the jerseys also. Obviously, a signed DeAndre Swift jersey and a signed Lamar Jackson jersey. Subscribe to the channel. Obviously, you're watching us here. Go and subscribe, and then send a screenshot to 14P Fantasy over on Twitter. Also, we'll switch it up a little bit. If you guys do subscribe and you're a noted subscriber, comment below that you have subscribed. We'll keep an eye on those numbers to make sure you're actually doing it, and we will make sure to enter you into the giveaway. Just a way to get in there if you don't have Twitter or other social media. All right, guys, we got 6 names here, some RB1s, some flexes, RB2s, some guys to sit. Let's get into it. Number 1, with Michael Carter out now, 2 to 3 weeks with an ankle sprain, Ty Johnson becomes a relevant flex play. Do I think he is very talented? No, not particularly. However, the matchup, the upside in receiving work makes Ty Johnson, at least someone you have to consider. At the very least, he needs to be rostered the next few weeks here because he is a starting running back. Right now, he's owned 77% over on Sleeper. If he's available and you're in one of those 23% of leagues, pick him up. I don't think you have to start him. I don't think he's a locked and loaded, top 24, top 20 type of guy. But if he finds the end zone, he's a viable flex play. So keep him on your radar when you're looking to set lineups. Again, not a must start, though. Moving on, we have Antonio Gibson versus Seattle, who has just been – Seattle's been bad against running backs, and Antonio Gibson has been a roller coaster of a fantasy asset all season long. Obviously, 2 weeks ago, has 2 touchdowns, gets over 20 points. This week, 0 targets for the first time all season, which is interesting. And then, rushes for a season high, but doesn't find the end zone. So all in all, it's a bit of a disappointing day. He turned it on in the second half, though, and hopefully against Seattle, that's something Ron Rivera goes back to. Seattle has just been hammered on the ground. 3 touchdowns in the last 3 games here, just under 100 yards rushing. So hopefully Gibson gets some passing work on top of it. But if this game gets out of control, Seattle returns to being Seattle. Russ figures out how to throw a football again. Maybe it's a higher scoring game than some people are expecting. And, defenses get gassed. Gibson finds a way into the end zone once or twice this week. I do believe, though, he's still an RB2. It's really difficult to get away from him because he does have that 2 touchdown upside each and every game. So if you have him, I am going to start Antonio Gibson with the expectation of a top 20 finish this week. Moving on, we have David Montgomery versus Detroit. And the only reason he's on here is with the news of Justin Fields being out and now Andy Dalton as the starter, I can see people getting scared off of David Montgomery, especially coming off of a terrible game fantasy-wise against the Ravens. But Detroit is Detroit. The Bears, they know who they are. They know they suck to begin with, but we know they want to run the ball over and over and over. And against Detroit, you can do that. The last 3 games for Detroit, they are allowing, let me get it right here, 137 yards a game on the ground, and they've given up 4 touchdowns. David Montgomery is the workhorse. Khalil Herbert, who you can probably cut at this point, he's nothing more than a handcuff in a bad offense, is non-existent. It's David Montgomery. It is his show. He's going to bounce back. This is the beginning of that stretch of just cake games for him. Fire up David Montgomery. No hesitation. He's a top 12 running back in my mind this week. Moving on, we have just the entire Buffalo backfield versus New Orleans as a sit. This is no longer a Devin Singletary, Zach Moss type of backfield. It is now Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, and Matt Breida. All 3 of them played under 40% of snaps last week. Now you factor in a just abysmal matchup. I mean, the Saints have not allowed a rushing touchdown in the last month of the season. That's what Devin Singletary and Zach Moss need to be relevant. They're not getting passing work. All of that is really going to Matt Breida now. So you find it difficult for Singletary or Moss to really become relevant. Matt Breida is slightly more interesting, I think, than the other two, but still, you don't want to play him because it's a gross, weird three-man committee. Sit them all down. I don't care if you cut any of them either. You want to cut Moss and Singletary, go for it. I don't care. It just doesn't matter at this point. They're not very relevant. Neither of them has eclipsed 15 points in a few weeks here. It's just I can't get behind starting any of the three, and mainly, Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. Moving to another weird, upsetting committee. Last week, I was very confident Deonta Foreman was about to become, a very viable flex play. He looked to be the best running back in the system. Jeremy McNichols was out. So, hey, he's going to get some pass work. And naturally, it went to Dontrell Hilliard, who put up 16 points in a great game by him. But Deonta Foreman, Adrian Peterson are now basically unstartable, it seems. This is not going to expand past a gross three-man committee. And if it does, I'm not going to try and guess at who it's going to be now. Do I still think and believe Deonta Foreman is the best running back in this offense? I do. That's not saying much. He's competing with McNichols, Peterson, Hilliard, who are all fine but not good players. So I'm just avoiding it. Avoid it. In New England, playing out of their mind right now. Titans just lost to Houston somehow. So just avoid the offense. Don't deal with it. The only player I want on this offense is AJ Brown. That's it. I'm avoiding everybody else like the plague, especially with Marcus Johnson going down with that hamstring injury this week or last week. Sit them all down. And to close us out, we have Miles Sanders versus the New York Giants. Miles Sanders is back in RB2 conversation. He is back from injury. And, I wanted to sit him, see what the workload was. 16 touches. That is tied for his second highest total on the season. Only the third time this year he actually eclipsed 15 touches. And he did it while playing less than 50% of snaps. I expect his snap share to increase. I expect his touches, not to necessarily increase, but at least stay stagnant. And, 15, 16 touches I will take all day long. Miles Sanders is back in RB2 conversation. The Giants are abysmal. They're a top 5 matchup for running backs as far as fantasy points goes. The last 4 weeks of this season, it's Miles Sanders time. I mean, he's a top 24 running back. You got to start him if you have him, I think. Unless you're rocking, A.J. Dillon and other guys that you've picked up off of waivers. I think Sanders is probably in your lineup, and he should be this week. So expect a top 24, maybe top 20 finish. As long as Jalen Hurts doesn't steal every rushing touchdown, Miles Sanders is going to be fine, I think, rest of the way. They figured out how to run the ball finally, and they're committed to it. And that's huge for Miles Sanders. That was the issue early on. If that's not a problem now and he's going to get touches, he's talented. So fire up Miles Sanders. He looks to be in, for a good end of season here. All right, everybody, that is all we have. Again, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Comment below if you have subscribed to get entered into that giveaway. Or, preferably send it to us over on Twitter at 14P_fantasy. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. And as always, we will see you next time.
How many snaps did they run in the 14 personnel?
That's only for us.
100% of the snaps.